This podcast episode is part of the series Listening to Canberra Voices, made at the University of Canberra, Faculty of Arts and Design 2023.
Hello everyone and welcome to Canberra Voices. My name is Samuel and I am here today with my co-host Peter Jiang, and today we'll be talking about the video game industry has been on a giant rise over the past 2 decades and it just keeps getting bigger and better. Our guest today is someone who has experienced many different parts of the industry, from being part of both successful and unsuccessful projects, as well as lending their expertise to indie studios while still contributing as a lecturer here at UC. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Rick Lagarto. All right, Rick, how about we start with a bit of your backstory? Can you tell us who you are and what is it you do and what brought you to Canberra?
All right, my name's Rick Lagarto. I'm a narrative designer. I work in game studios, working on computer games. I started my professional career as a theatre director, but after about 12 years, while I started to become more successful, I was just as poor as I was when I was unsuccessful and decided I needed a job that paid better. Like most people, I studied uni and just focused on that. So it was a bit of a crisis, but mums are wise and she said, "You're a storyteller," so I moved into game development in 2006 or 5, I can't even remember now. And and that's kind of where I've been working since. I came to Canberra to work with 2K Australia.
Oh, really?
Many years ago, and I'm still here.
Okay. Well, I guess as a follow-up question, what kind of kept you around in Canberra? Well, this is a pretty cool place. There's not much to do, as many of us will say.
Yeah. It's funny, when I came here, I kind of gave my wife and I kind of said, we'll just stay here for 3 years and then we'll get the hell out of Dodge. Because Canberra's really unattractive to Australians.
It really is, isn't it?
It's really attractive to people overseas.
Yeah.
Like when I was at 2K Australia, it was easy to get a developer from Paris to move to Canberra than it was to get a developer from Melbourne to move to Canberra, because it's just a really nice place. It's got the best of both worlds. It's city, but it's also a bit country. I did live in Sydney for 14 years, so I'm quite enjoying the nature and the peace, and I can leave a window open and come home and all my stuff's still inside the house.
Now, to lead into that, what are your 3 favorite projects that you've been able to work on?
Probably, it's hard. Because there's bits and pieces of them that I kind of favourite. Working on Total War, because I'm a big Total War fan, that was great. Being able to work on a Star Wars game, that was one of my boxes that I wanted to tick. And I got to create stuff that's now part of the Star Wars canon. So even if I achieve nothing else in my life, I've done that. From a game development perspective, probably Yonder, Chronicles of the Cloud Catcher.
Yeah.
Because that was the first time I worked remotely, and that was, I think, about 12 of us at max.
12 people?
Most of us had worked together before, which made it a lot easier. If you've worked with people, it makes it much easier face-to-face in the past. And it was just a really interesting experience to work remotely, and it was a really fun game to make, even though, eventually there was a lot of cool stuff that we just ran out of time and weren't able to implement, which I can't even talk about, but it was, there was some...
I mean, you may be working on a sequel for it?
No, I'm not working on it. I don't know if Prideful Sloth are, but
okay.
I'm not working with Prideful Sloth at the moment. But it was just fun. So, working on Star Wars game, Total War, and Yonder, for different reasons.
Okay, I bet. Now, going into Star Wars, the game was Star Wars Republic Heroes. And when you look it up, people can see that it didn't really perform very well, even though that was the case. Was it a very fun experience? And also, could you give a bit of insight as to what you did and what was the character that you actually got to flesh out and create?
It was a pretty full-on game to work on, because I kind of had 2 roles. I was game designer and writer, which I decided I don't want to ever do that again. It was a fantastic opportunity to work on Star Wars, and it was one game where I didn't need to do much research because I kind of already knew stuff. I got to read season 1 and about halfway through season 2 all the Clone Wars animation scripts.
Oh, really?
Beforehand. They hadn't even broadcast the first one.
That's actually really cool.
When I was working on it, just so we could get understanding of the series and the way they spoke, and also the stories and things, because one of our pillars, often games, when you're creating an experience, a game has pillars. They'll support the experience. So the experience they wanted was it has to be like you're playing the animation series. And then they wanted a couple of, LucasArts wanted a couple of other things.
Oh, yeah, because this was also before Disney as well.
Yeah, so this I disagreed with. They pay the bills. They wanted a game that was cool for, in their words, 10-year-old boys to 15-year-old boys, because their market research told them that's the only people interested in Star Wars.
Little did they know now.
Well, yeah. I mean, little did they know then. It was a studio full of Star Wars fans.
True.
We're all like, huh? And part of that was they wanted the game to basically look, sound, smell, taste like the animation series. So you're like playing an episode. So that was a really key thing that we had to achieve. And I think we did that. That's the bit I'm proudest of in that game, that we really achieved that really well. So anyway, that's why I ended up reading through all those scripts.
That's actually really cool, though, to hear.
And trying to make sure that they spoke the same way. And we had to read a couple of scripts from the end of season 1 in that time, because they wanted it set after season 1.
I'm trying to remember what the... Oh, Ryloth.
Ryloth. So that's why. And they gave us, which was really cool, a list of planets we could have it on or include in it, and a list of planets we weren't allowed to have it on. One, which was the whole Ryloth thing. So we did it post-siege, and they're cleaning up in Ryloth still.
Okay, that'd be interesting.
Because we thought, instead of coming up with an excuse to go somewhere else, let's still be there.
Okay.
Mopping up, and then a big villain stumbles in.
Okay.
In this case, a doomsday weapon ends up being on the stolen by. Actually, no. I can't even remember now. It's a crashed ship stolen by Cad Bane. It's a crashed ship with a doomsday weapon. Cad Bane steals it. A whole bunch of shenanigans ensure. We did originally have some rogue clone troopers in there.
Yeah.
And LucasArts kind of went, nah, we can't have rogue clones. They all have to be, it's all about brotherhood, and there's never any rogue clones.
Sorry for interrupting, but if I recall, there was an episode that did actually focus on that kind of concept already, so I feel like I can see what they were coming from.
That happened partly because we had the idea where we had a bunch of troopers that had become smugglers, and that freaked out part of LucasArts, and the other half loved it. And apparently, I got told that idea of rogue troopers bounced around LucasArts for yonks.
Do you think Dave Filoni got involved with it at any point?
Yeah. He loved the idea.
Really?
I actually spoke to him.
That's pretty cool.
About it, because we got to speak a few times.
That's really
about
cool.
Characters and things. And he really liked that idea. So, yeah, who knows? I mean, he probably had that idea.
I should also probably clarify for the listeners, Dave Filoni is the current director, the current creator of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, The Bad Batch, and he is the co-creator of The Mandalorian as well, along with Jon Favreau. So the person we're talking about is pretty influential. Actually, he also created Avatar: The Last Airbender. Yeah,
so I was speaking to him because he wanted to ask some questions about some stuff that we were coming up with, in case he wanted to use some of that in season 2, I think.
Okay.
And I think just to kind of just say hi. And we had a bunch of questions as well. So it was just a phone call. It wasn't meeting in person.
Still getting to talk to someone like that is pretty cool.
So, yeah. So, and he loved some of the ideas that we had, which is, I think, what made him want to speak with us in the first place. Like, we created a different type of clone trooper, which was, as we used to prefer, the nerd, the geek clone troopers.
Do you think that could have inspired? Do you think that could have inspired tech a bit from the Bad Batch?
Yeah, definitely. I see a lot of stuff that we did kind of grow.
That's
over the years.
Still pretty cool, though.
We made the other clone troopers, call them soft shells, because they didn't have the armor, and they were the ones that kind of worked on the space stations and did all that stuff. So because it just didn't make sense to us, all these armed guys walking around a station, and we wanted it to connect it to the Star Wars era, where you see, the officers in the uniform. The Imperial officers. So we kind of asked Lucas up, because any idea like that, like, you don't just get, you can't just create it. You have to almost do like a pitch, full pitch, just to have that sort of thing. And then you have to pitch it to LucasArts and see what happens.
Yeah, because
they control their obviously their IP very closely, and you just can't create stuff.
Okay, sorry to go off topic again. Let's quickly talk about BioShock, because you had a brief involvement with BioShock. Yeah,
they were working on BioShock 2 when I joined 2K Australia. Most of the work was done.
Okay.
By the time I joined. So my job was really just playing, because I was unique in that I had a set of fresh eyes.
Okay.
Who hadn't seen it before. So really I was play testing the crap out of it, and kind of referring to, and giving kind of like detailed feedback about levels, about the narrative. Yeah, and that's kind of was my job, like a really intense play testing.
That's pretty cool, though.
But coming from a game designer and a narrative person, as opposed to, like normally when you play test with normal, everyday people.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Which is super important. But here, like, they could have someone in the studio who was a designer who hadn't seen the game before, and just kind of see what happens. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of basically what I did, was play levels and write a whole bunch of stuff and talk to both the people in Australia and in 2K Marin.
That's cool.
About, stuff that I was like, what, where am I supposed to go now? What's this talking about? Because it's very easy when you're close and you know it all, you fill in the gaps that the game's not telling you.
I think you should actually go talk with, I don't know if you've met Tony Eaton, who works over in Building 20.
Yeah.
He's a massive fan of BioShock.
He's my on my supervisory panel for my PhD. So
he's a really amazing person. He helped me out a lot last year. So I just was like, have you met him? Have you talked about BioShock with him? Because I feel like he would love to talk with you about it, because he uses BioShock in his lectures, actually, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
And I bet that would be really cool from someone like you who got to actually help make the game.
Yeah, it is. That's kind of, to me, the favourite thing that I like about computer games is then they have their whole life past the game, like people making dioramas and modding their figures to be characters, or it being discussed, at unis and schools, or people using it to teach stuff, or to that's kind of or even like you hear, when I was 16, I played the crap out of that game, or me and my friends tried to make a mod, and just hearing kind of it goes out into the wild and people have their experiences with it. That's kind of, to me, one of the more rewarding aspects of my computer games.
All right, I've got just a couple more questions here. We'll just do like these rapid fire. So like, I'm very confident. I really want to ask this question. But where's your favorite place to go to in Canberra?
Actually, I went to one of my favorite places in Canberra is the rainforest section of the Botanical Gardens.
Oh, okay, that is a really nice spot. I can definitely say that is a very nice spot.
That's one of my most favourite spots.
Do you get ideas for games there as well, or?
I actually get story ideas.
Really? Cool.
There. Maybe it's all the moss and moisture helps
I bet.
lubricate my brain.
Yeah, okay. And following up from that, do you think there'll ever be a video game that's has Canberra as like a hub world, or just based on Canberra?
Who knows? Anything's possible. I know there's a Necromunda novel written by an author who lives in Canberra, and it's called Junction. It's one of the older Necromunda. For the people at home, Necromunda is a game by Games Workshop, and it's a tabletop game.
All right, and another follow-up question is, do you ever incorporate anything of Canberra into your writing or games?
I haven't as yet. I am working on one story that will eventually come to a country that's like Australia. It's kind of like that we have.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Actually, I have one more question about which engines you use to create the games.
Just about every engine I've worked with Unreal, I think Unreal 3 back in the day, and probably Unreal 2. And I've worked on Unity and also on in-house engines, which basically the studio has their own engine.
That's really cool.
They're the main ones.
Okay. Well, I think we have two final questions here. First one is, what would be your dream project to work on?
Dream project to work on? I'd love to work on a Batman game, and
it wouldn't be the same with Kevin Conroy though, but
yeah, that's probably, and maybe I'd like to have another go at Star Wars, but this time a more dark, gritty.
Would you like to work on the Old Republic or?
I prefer the
Clone Wars,
the more New Republic, the Empire and the New Republic.
The end of the Empire, era?
Yeah.
Okay,
that's because that's my era of Star Wars.
The Mando
I grew
era.
up with. Yeah, I mean that's to me that's still the original era of Star Wars.
Yeah, I can definitely. Yeah, that would be really cool. So, final question: do you have any upcoming projects that you're excited about or working on? And if so, do you have any little teasers that you can maybe share?
I'm working with a studio that makes mobile games.
Yes.
At the moment, can't really talk about that too much.
Okay.
But it's been really interesting and challenging to put in some interesting narrative into a casual mobile game.
Okay.
Because narrative's kind of become the latest part of the mobile game space
definitely.
race.
Genshin Impact is one big one. We got PUBG Mobile. So many games are becoming mobile.
Yeah, and the casual market's got it's huge. There's a lot of competitors out there, and now and they've done kind of everything they can of graphics, and innovating with a lot of the puzzle games.
Oh,
there's not that the innovation comes in slowly, and it's getting slower because the more people do that, the less room there is for new stuff. So one of the areas where they're really trying to compete with each other now is narrative.
Okay.
And making the narrative interesting and integrating it as part of the general experience, which is why mobile game companies are hiring people like me.
Okay.
So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how audiences enjoy the narrative part of the casual games I'm working on at the moment.
I think that we have a very good amount of stuff to work with, and I think I'd like to say once again, thank you, Rick, for coming on and just talking with us. We greatly appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
We hope you had a great time. We hope everyone at home had a good time listening. We hope you all have a bit of insight into how games development work. We hope you understand games a bit more. Yes, this has been Canberra Voices. My name is Sam Stormer. This is Peter Jiang, and we hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.